Left behind when the wagon train moved on. Then the cowboy said, "You'll ride with me now." The sun rose slowly over the orange dunes of the outer plains, painting the horizon with streaks of gold and crimson. Dust swirled gently in the warm wind, carrying the scent of distant iron and wildflowers. Eli James the cowboy had slept under the wide-open sky, a thin blanket covering him, his hat resting beside him. His horse Starfire grazed quietly nearby, its metallic bridle glinting faintly under the morning sun. A new design he had picked up in the last town, made from a strange alloy that seemed to glow faintly when the sun touched it. Eli's mind was heavy. The last night had been strange, almost surreal. Returning to his old homestead, he had found not the simple, familiar life he remembered, but something entirely different. His friend Ayana, the Apache woman he had always known as wise and steady, had changed. Her home had strange machines humming in the corners, small lights blinking softly, and tiny drones floating silently, scanning the room. Ayana herself seemed distant, as if her thoughts were carried far away into another world. Eli rose slowly, brushing the dust off his jacket, and approached the house. The door creaked softly as he pushed it open, and Ayana looked up from a holographic map she'd projected above a table. "Morning, Eli," she said quietly. Her voice was calm, but her eyes held a strange light. Curiosity, worry, and something he couldn't name. "Morning," Eli replied, tipping his hat. "I guess the homestead changed while I was gone." Didn't expect this. He gestured to the softly glowing machines. Ayana smiled faintly. "The world changes, Eli. We have to change too. I'm learning to understand it, to see what comes next." Eli scratched the back of his neck. He had always admired Ayana for her strength, but this was different. It felt as though she was living two lives at once, one here with him, and one somewhere far beyond the plains, perhaps in the stars. He stepped closer to the table, watching the holographic map flicker and shift. Strange symbols floated across it, and tiny orbs moved along invisible paths. "What is this?" he asked. Ayana's fingers danced in the air, and the symbols rearranged themselves into shapes Eli recognized. "Routes," she said. "Routes to places the old maps never showed. Places where technology has touched the land in ways we don't yet understand." Eli studied the map, squinting. There were lines curving across the landscape, glowing faintly like rivers of light. Tiny symbols moved along them, dots and triangles he didn't recognize. "So this is some kind of guide?" he asked. "Not just a guide," Ayana said. Her eyes met his, steady and unwavering. "It's a warning, too. Something is coming, Eli. Something big. And we need to be ready." Eli felt a chill, though the morning sun was warm on his back. "Coming? What do you mean?" Ayana's hand hovered over the map. "I've seen signs, strange signals in the desert. Machines buried under the sand, older than anything we thought existed. They're awakening. And they're not friendly." Eli swallowed hard. "Friendly or not, I guess we can't run from it. But how do we even start?" Ayana paused. Then, almost as if she had made a decision, she said, "We start by finding the source. The place where the first machines awoke. If we understand it, we can guide the rest of the land safely." Eli nodded slowly. The words, "guide the land," felt heavy, like the weight of the plains themselves. He looked out the window at the horizon, the dunes stretching endlessly, glowing faintly in the rising sun. Somewhere out there, beyond the farthest hill, the first machine must be waking. They packed quickly, their preparations quiet but methodical. Ayana collected small devices, each humming softly, and Eli loaded Starfire with provisions: water, food, blankets, and tools. Outside, the wind shifted, carrying the scent of something metallic and new, almost like electricity. Eli shivered, though he wasn't sure if it was fear or excitement. By mid-morning, they set out, moving across the dunes. The sun climbed higher, and the heat made the air shimmer. Starfire's hooves left prints that disappeared quickly in the fine sand. For hours they traveled without speaking much, each lost in thought, each sensing the invisible tension that hummed through the air. Finally, as the sun reached its peak, they paused at a small ridge. Below them stretched a valley, covered in rocks that gleamed with a strange silvery light. The air seemed thicker here, almost vibrating faintly. Eli could feel it in his chest, a low hum that made his hair stand on end. Ayana dismounted and knelt, running her fingers across the silvery rocks. They were smooth and cold, unlike anything natural. Small lines etched into the surface glowed faintly where her fingers traced them. These are older than anything I've seen, she murmured. Older than the first settlers, older than even the old maps. This place, it's alive. Eli frowned. Alive? Rocks don't live, Ayanna.
She shook her head.
Not rocks, Eli. Machines. Ancient ones. Sleeping, waiting. Eli swallowed. Sleeping machines. Got it. And we're waking them. Ayanna's eyes met his, serious and calm. We need to wake only the right ones. If we wake the wrong ones, the plains will be lost. The hum grew louder as they approached the valley floor. Strange shapes emerged among the rocks, towers of smooth metal, shaped like the ribs of some gigantic creature. Tiny lights blinked along the surface and the air shimmered with energy. Eli felt his pulse quicken. Looks like the stories, he said quietly. The ones the old-timers whispered about around the campfires. Machines older than the stars, buried beneath the sand. Ayanna nodded. And now they are stirring. We need to understand why, before curiosity alone wakes more than we can handle. As they moved closer, Eli noticed something else. Small creatures scuttled between the machines. Tiny robots no taller than a rabbit, with legs like spiders' limbs. They moved quickly, scanning the ground and the air, their eyes glowing. Eli instinctively reached for his rope, but Ayanna shook her head. They won't hurt us, she said. Not unless we threaten them. They're scouts, watching, learning. The tiny robots paused, their glowing eyes flicking toward Eli and Starfire. Then they moved on, vanishing between the glowing towers. Eli exhaled, trying to steady himself. This place was alive, strange, beautiful, and dangerous in a way he could feel but not touch. Ayanna knelt again, placing her hand on one of the glowing towers. It pulsed softly under her touch, a gentle rhythm like a heartbeat. The hum that filled the valley seemed to synchronize with it. They're communicating, she whispered. Not with words, not with sound, but with energy. They sense us. They're testing us. Eli watched in awe. The machines shimmered, their surfaces shifting like liquid metal. Tiny patterns danced across their sides, intricate and hypnotic. He realized, with a thrill and a tremor of fear, that these machines were more than tools. They were ancient intelligence, awake and aware. How do we even talk to them? He asked. Ayanna smiled faintly. We don't. We listen first. Then we move. Eli nodded. He had always been a man of action, a cowboy who faced dangers head-on. But here, in the valley of waking machines, action without understanding could be disaster. He swallowed hard and followed Ayanna's lead, stepping carefully between the glowing towers, letting the hum guide his path. The sun dipped lower in the sky and the valley grew cooler. The machines pulsed gently, almost like breathing. Eli felt a strange calm settle over him, as if the valley itself was alive, observing him, approving or warning in ways he couldn't yet understand. As dusk approached, Ayanna finally stopped. She looked at Eli with a faint smile, tired but resolute. We've made it this far, she said softly, and we've learned enough to know that the first awakening is near. Tomorrow, we will meet it, face to face. Eli nodded, staring at the shimmering valley. His heart raced with anticipation. This was no ordinary adventure. This was a journey into the unknown, into a world where the past and future intertwined, where every step mattered, and where one wrong move could change everything. For the first time in a long while, Eli felt alive. Not just a cowboy riding the plains, but an explorer standing at the edge of a new horizon, a horizon that stretched beyond stars, beyond sand, beyond time itself. And as night fell, the valley hummed softly, and the first stars began to shine. Eli knew that their journey had only just begun. The valley lay under a silver-blue moon, its light reflecting off the metallic towers like tiny stars scattered across the sand. Eli adjusted his hat, watching shadows stretch across the ground. The air hummed softly, a sound that seemed to come from the machines themselves, as if the valley had a quiet heartbeat. Ayanna knelt on the sand, her hand brushing over one of the towers. The gentle pulse beneath her fingers had grown stronger since yesterday, almost like the tower itself was stirring from a long sleep. Eli felt a mixture of awe and nervousness. He had seen many strange things in his life, but nothing like this. Ellie, Ayanna whispered, her eyes bright in the moonlight. It's starting. The first one is awakening. Eli's heart skipped a beat. Awakening? What does that mean? It means it's aware. It can think, it can sense, and it can respond. But we must be careful. We can't rush it. A low hum began to rise through the valley, vibrating through the sand beneath their boots. Eli felt the vibration in his chest, a strange, thrilling pulse. Then, a faint glow appeared along the tallest tower, a light that traveled from its base to the top in a slow, rhythmic pattern. "That's it," Ayanna said. "The first has noticed us." Suddenly, a sound like wind moving through glass filled the air. The tower's surface rippled, and shapes began to form. It looked almost alive, as if liquid metal was folding in on itself, creating patterns that Eli could barely comprehend. The glow intensified, and he realized that the shapes were not random. They were a form of language, a story written in light. "They're communicating," Ayanna said softly. "It's showing us, its history, its memory." Eli squinted at the glowing patterns, feeling a strange connection he couldn't explain. Images of distant planets, starry skies, and ancient structures flashed before his eyes. A person's name were brushing against his mind like a gentle wave. Can we understand it?" he asked. Ayanna nodded. "We can. We just have to listen with more than our ears." For hours they sat quietly, letting the machine's light and hum wash over them. Eli began to notice patterns in the glow, the way certain symbols repeated, the rhythm of the pulses, the pauses between flashes. Slowly he began to sense the intelligence behind it, a calm, careful presence that seemed to observe and judge, but without hostility. Then something unexpected happened. One of the smaller towers, no taller than a man, detached itself from its base. It floated slowly in the air, spinning gently. Tiny lights flickered along its edges, and it hovered before Eli and Ayanna. The hum changed, softening, almost like a welcoming sigh. "It's alive," Eli whispered. "It knows we're here, and it's friendly?" Ayanna smiled faintly. "Friendly, yes, but cautious. These machines have waited centuries for someone to understand them. If we make the wrong move, they will retreat." The small tower drifted closer to Eli. He held out his hand hesitantly. A faint light touched his palm, and he felt a warmth that was not heat, but energy, a pulse of life. He gasped softly. "It's sharing knowledge," Ayanna said. "It wants us to see, to learn." For the next few hours, Eli and Ayanna moved through the valley, guided by the small floating towers. The machines revealed hidden paths and underground chambers filled with old machinery, artifacts of a civilization long forgotten. Eli touched the walls, feeling grooves etched with symbols that glowed faintly. The energy in the air was electric but calming, as if the valley itself were alive and breathing. As the night deepened, the valley began to glow softly, lights rising from the towers and the sand itself. Eli realized that the machines were not just awakening, they were teaching. They showed visions of survival, of harmony with the land, of ways humans and machines could coexist without harm. Ayanna paused near a tall, spiraling tower. "This one holds the oldest memory," she said. "It knows the history of the plains, the stories of our people, and the secrets of the stars. We need to listen carefully." Eli approached slowly, feeling the hum resonate in his chest. The tower's surface shimmered, and images appeared. Vast deserts, alien landscapes, strange skies, and humans interacting with machines in ways he had never imagined. The visions were peaceful, showing coexistence and discovery rather than conflict. "This is amazing," Ellie said softly. "They've been here all this time, just waiting for someone to see." Ayanna nodded. "And now we are here. The awakening is not just about them, it's about us too. We have to learn to guide this new world." Suddenly the hum shifted. It was not threatening, but different, urgent. Eli looked around. The small machines flickered, moving faster, guiding them to a hidden chamber beneath the largest tower. The entrance was narrow, carved into the rock-like metal of the base. Ayanna turned to Eli, eyes serious. "This is it," she said. "The heart of the awakening. Whatever we find inside will change everything we know." Eli nodded, gripping his hat tightly. He followed Ayanna into the chamber, feeling the hum grow louder, stronger, as if the valley itself were alive and welcoming them into its deepest secret. Inside, the chamber was vast, stretching far beyond what Eli could see. Light flowed from the walls, and the floor seemed to pulse gently. At the center stood a machine unlike any he had seen before. Towering, graceful, its surface covered in intricate symbols that glowed softly. It radiated calm energy, and as Eli approached, he felt a connection, like the machine was aware of his very thoughts. Ayanna reached out her hand, and the machine responded, light flowing from it in waves. Eli did the same, and suddenly, images filled his mind, the plains, the stars, ancient travelers, and the history of the machines themselves. They were the guardians of the land, protecting it, waiting for humans to learn their ways. Eli stepped back, awed. They've been waiting for us to understand. Yes, Ayanna said, her voice filled with wonder, and now we can begin the real journey. Learning, guiding, and protecting. This is the beginning of a new era. Eli smiled, feeling hope and excitement. For the first time in a long while, he felt that his life had a greater purpose, that the plains, the machines, and the stars were all connected, and that he and Ayanna were at the heart of it. The chamber glowed softly as they stood together, listening to the hum of the awakening, ready for the challenges and wonders that lay ahead. The sun rose over the valley again, painting the towers in shades of gold and silver. Eli and Ayanna stepped outside the chamber, feeling the warmth of the day on their faces. The awakening had changed the valley. Machines moved gracefully through the sand, tiny lights blinking in harmony, while the larger towers pulsed softly, radiating calm energy across the plains. This place, it's alive, Eli said, gazing around in awe. I never thought anything could feel so peaceful and powerful at the same time. Ayanna smiled. The machines are part of the land, just as much as the wind and the sand. They teach, they protect, and now they trust us. Eli looked at her. And what do we do now? Ayanna's eyes shone with determination. We guide the awakening. We show the plains how to live with them, not against them. We explore the hidden places, learn the old knowledge, and protect the valley from mistakes or misunderstandings. For weeks, they worked together. They traveled through the valley, learning from the machines, uncovering secrets buried for centuries, and mapping the hidden paths. Eli found himself marveling at how the machines interacted with the world, the way they drew energy from the sun, how they recycled water from the air, and how they recycled water from the air. Each day he felt more connected, not just to the machines but to the land itself. He remembered the plains he had known as a boy, simple and harsh, and realized how much they had changed, and how much he had grown. One evening, as the sky turned purple and gold, Ayanna turned to him. Ellie, do you remember when you first came back? How you felt lost? Eli nodded. I thought I had nothing left to keep me going. But now, I see that there's more to life than just surviving. Exactly, Ayanna said. Life is about discovery, about understanding, and about connecting. The plains, the machines, even the stars, they all have lessons, and we're part of them. Eli smiled. I guess I've found a new reason to keep living, a big one. They rode across the valley together, starfire moving gracefully over the glowing sand. The machines followed silently, not in threat but in companionship. Eli felt a sense of belonging he had never known, a connection to the past, the present, and the future all at once. As night fell, the stars appeared, brighter than he had ever seen. The valley glowed softly below, the towers pulsing like gentle lanterns. Eli realized that this was only the beginning. The awakening was far from over, but he and Ayanna were ready to meet whatever came next. Together, they gazed at the horizon, knowing that the plains, the machines, and the stars were all part of the same story, and that they were living at the heart of it. Eli tipped his hat to the glowing towers. Here's to new beginnings, he said softly. Ayanna nodded. Here's to discovery and to the horizon that keeps moving no matter how far we ride. And with that, the two of them rode forward, into the glowing plains, ready to explore the wonders of a world where technology, nature, and humanity could exist together, peaceful, harmonious, and full of endless possibilities. The valley hummed around them, alive and awake, as if the land itself whispered, "Welcome to the future."